classified based on their structure or based on their altitude of operations. So first one is UAV types based on the structure. Rotary wing type is the most popular UAV, which is shown in the figure, which has multiple propellers and has the capability of static hovering over a point in space, and it can also move instantaneously in the vertical direction. But the problem with this UAV is that there are multiple propellers and the power consumption is very high. The other type of UAV is fixed wing type of UAV, which is also shown in this shown in the figure here, which is having a simple aircraft type design. It can have higher speed and low power operation, but the problem with this UAV is there is no static hovering and it cannot take sudden vertical movement. But both these UAVs are employed in the literature for wireless communications. Similarly, we have the other types of UAVs based on their altitude of operations. First one is high altitude platforms. High altitude platforms, popularly known as HAPS, are those, for example, balloons. In balloons, we can mount various communication circuitries so that we can establish the coverage to the ground users. The altitude for the operation is generally taken as greater than 17 kilometers. This reference distance is taken from 1, the paper number 1, which I mentioned here. Similarly, there are low altitude platforms which are portable UAVs of either kind, it can be a rotary wing or it can be a fixed wing, but the altitude of operation is very low, that is nearly 400 feet as per the US regulation. This is not the hard boundary of 400 feet. This is just for the operation of UAVs without any specific license. However, in many cases, the height of labs can go up to 1 kilometer. Here are certain advantages of UAVs. These are portable, low cost, and quickly deployable. Because of these advantages, the UAVs find applications in wireless communications. So we discuss the popular use cases of UAVs in next generation wireless communications. In this figure, we can see that the conventional wireless networks are ground-based, which have the fixed infrastructure. For example, there is a base station that is utilized for serving many users in a cell. But if there are some scenarios or like disasters, we can see here there are natural disasters, and similarly if there are hot spots and if there are complex terrains nearby where we cannot deploy the infrastructure, then UAVs are very useful. Let us start the disaster situation with the disaster situations. So here we can see this figure is showing the natural disasters such as volcano, earthquake, etc. In this case, what will be there? Any base station deployed in this region will be damaged, and in that case we cannot provide the wireless communication services to the users. So what we can do, we can utilize the UAVs which is connected to a macros base station and act as a flying base station in this region for providing the wireless communication services. Similarly, if there are complex terrains nearby, complex terrains here refer to the hilly regions, glaciers, marshes, oceans, or rivers. Around these regions, it is very difficult to establish or to install the ground-based base stations. In such cases, what we can do, we can provide a flying UAV base station, as we can see here, UAV 5, which will be supported by another UAV, UAV 2, which is connected to the macro base station. So particularly in this case, this is the example of coverage extension to the complex terrains with the help of mobile relay. This UAV 2 here acts as a mobile relay, and this UAV 5 here acts as a wireless access point or simply a mobile base station. Here we can see there are another situation. We can see there is another situation of hotspots. What is the hotspot? If suppose in a particular cell there is the accumulation of large number of users. This occurs when there is a large event, sporting event, social event, for example, an IPL match. In that case, many users are accumulated in one region and the existing base station is not having the capability to serve all the users at the particular time. In that case, we need to offload the overloaded base station, and in such scenario, the UAV is very useful, and here this UAV 3 acts as a wireless access point for ubiquitous coverage. Let us see the cell structure for UAV networks. In this figure, there is a ground user U, which is located here at the center of a cell. This particular circular cell is the approximation of the hexagonal cell on the ground layout. If the mobile user lying here at the center of this cell, this is just for simplification, we have taken the user at the center of the cell. And if we need to serve this user with the help of UAVs, it occupies the locations in space. As we can see here, these nodes SI, SM, S1 are all UAVs, and these UAVs are in three-dimensional space. Now, what should be the structure of the cell for a 3D UAV network? So the most common 3D cell structure is the cylindrical cell structure, where we extend this two-dimensional layout of the conventional ground-based network to the Z direction. So here, if we extend it to the Z direction, we will get an extra dimension which results in a three-dimensional cylindrical cell. Note that this kind of cylindrical cell is possible only if we consider the downlink communication from UAV to ground user equipment, or from ground user equipment to the UAVs in uplink, right? So it is only for the case when a ground user is involved. However, if we consider air-to-air communications, the cell structure can be of different types. One popular cell type is the polyhedra. Now, as we can see here, these UAVs are deployed in three-dimensional space, and the UAVs are inherently having the mobility feature. Now, these UAVs, if deployed in a cell, they will continuously move either in the vertical direction or in the horizontal direction based on certain mechanisms for enhancing the system performance. As we know, there are so many algorithms which are designed in wireless communications for optimizing the system performance. So if any UAV is performing optimization, then it must adjust its height as well as its spatial position so that for example, the data rate to the ground users can be maximized, right? If we see generally, then there are two kinds of operations for the UAVs. One is control. This is required for power minimization, because as UAVs operate at higher height, then the power consumption is more. Similarly, altitude control is needed for optimal user associations. We know the beam spot of any UAV on the ground is of circular nature. When the height increases, the coverage spot on the ground will also increase. Thus, these two operations goes on simultaneously. One is the altitude control and the other one is the spatial altitude control, and the second one is the spatial excursion. So spatial excursion here is required basically for the location tuning and trajectory control. The trajectory of UAV is in general an optimization variable for designing the optimal algorithms for UAV networks. So in that case, spatial movement is also possible. So these two mechanisms, that is altitude control and spatial excursion, goes on simultaneously, which defines the mobility of UAV in a wireless network. Now, if we want to analyze the performance of such systems information theoretically, in that case, we should find the accurate locations of these UAVs in three-dimensional space, which can be modeled stochastically. Stochastic modeling we have considered because if we consider a distributed system where the information of the locations of UAVs is not available centrally, then we cannot control these UAVs and we cannot accurately define their locations in the cell. So what we need here, we require an accurate stochastic UAV mobility model, particularly mixed mobility model, which consists of both altitude control and spatial excursion. Now, there is the special consideration for altitude control, as we have discussed, that UAV goes up and down in this particular cell, but if UAV is operating at higher height, then power consumption is also increased. Similarly, a UAV should not rest on ground for no operation. So altitude control must be modeled stochastically in such a way that there is the distribution of its altitude as non-uniform. Similarly, for spatial excursion, whenever there is a sideways movement, the UAV must follow the uniform distribution. As we can see in this figure B, these dots SI, SM, S1 are the projections of these UAVs onto the ground plane. So in this ground plane, we can see S1, SM, SI as the location of UAVs, which must be uniformly distributed. Why we are considering here uniform distribution? This is suggested that the UAVs must follow uniform distribution on the ground. The projection must follow the uniform distribution on the ground in many of the existing literatures. Now we look forward to model the UAV mobility using mixed mobility model. So what is the mixed mobility model that I describe the next? Stochastic mixed mobility model for 3D UAV networks comprises of two steps. There are two steps. Step 1, which is vertical movement process, and there is another step which is step 2, spatial excursion process. In this model, step 1 and step 2 occurs alternatively. So let us start with the step 1. In vertical movement process, we consider that a UAV SI either ascends or descends at any time t to change its altitude HIT for a given spatial location ZIT. So what is there? We consider, let us look at this figure. Hi is the instantaneous altitude and this Zi is the projection of Si onto the ground. That is, the Zi can be used for calculating the distance from the user U onto the ground plane. So these two parameters here are involved. UAV descends at time t to change its altitude HIT for a given spatial location ZIT. That means ZIT is kept constant when the UAV is assumed to move upwards or downwards. The altitude control mechanism is modeled based on a well-defined one-dimensional random waypoint mobility model. For this model, one can refer to the paper, which paper number 3, which I mentioned on the previous slide. So here, one-dimensional random waypoint mobility model gives us the flexibility to decide a random dwell time at waypoints. I can explain briefly what is random waypoint mobility model. In one-dimensional random waypoint mobility model, a UAV ascends from a given location to the next location based on certain uniformly distributed speed. Whenever it approaches at the final point, it stays there for certain amount of time. And that particular final destination where it is staying is known as the waypoint. And at this waypoint, we can incorporate a random dwell time where the UAV will stay for certain time and can make the spatial excursion. So this particular dwell time is utilized for the horizontal or the sideways movement in this particular model. Rest are the parameters for this model. That is dwell time TS, which is uniformly taken between two values, tau minimum and tau maximum. PDF of altitude control HIT is given as, in particularly for the random waypoint mobility model, it is given as the superposition of two PDFs. One is the static PDF. Static PDF means whenever the UAV is staying at any of the waypoint. And PS here is the probability of staying the UAV at that particular waypoint. Similarly, whenever a UAV is in motion, then we require a mobility PDF, which is this one, F with this superscript MO. So this is the mobility PDF, and the probability of moving the UAVs, that is equivalent to the probability of not staying at any waypoint, that is 1 minus PS. So this is a weighted superposition of two PDFs, and these PDFs are defined as the uniform distribution. First one, the static PDF, is the uniform distribution among the along the height of the UAV, and this is the mobility PDF, which is given by this particular expression. Staying probability can now be calculated, which is the mean value of staying at the waypoint, that is the dwell time, and the sum of total time, that is the mean value of dwell time plus the mean value of mobility time. Particularly, mean stay time and mean mobility time is defined in terms of the parameters, which is Vmax, the maximum velocity of maximum speed of vertical movement, and V minimum as the velocity of the vertical movement, and L is here the expectation of L is here the h/3. This is mean RWPM leg length. V1I we consider as the uniformly distributed speed between V minimum and V max, and this speed is the speed of vertical ascent or descent. Now we can have a special excursion process which is followed when the UAV is staying at a particular waypoint. This follows the location update at time t+1 based on the previous location at the time t. So ZIT is the projection of UAV onto the ground plane, and ZIT+1 is the next update of the location at time t+1, and here this location ZIT is updated based on the UIT, which is nothing but a uniformly distributed, it is just a uniform distribution in a ball of center at ZIT and radius r dash. If suppose a UAV is not at the waypoint, in that case a UAV cannot move in the horizontal direction. So in that case location update is not possible. So what will be there? Whenever there is the probability of moving 1 minus PS, as we can also see here, while the UAV is mobile, the probabilities of not staying is the probability of moving. So this probability 1 minus PS, when applied, then the location update is not possible. Then ZIT+1 is the same location onto the ground plane. We define the speed for the movement of the UAVs in horizontal direction as the difference between the two locations. This is the Euclidean norm, and the mean speed in that case can be calculated as r dash over 1.5, and this r dash is the mobility size of this ball, this uniform ball size. To have a clear picture of this stochastic mixed mobility model, before going further, I would like to show you how the UAV movement in this cylindrical cell using mixed mobility model looks. So let us see one video. So this one is the video showing the mixed mobility model, and these stars are the UAVs which are moving in the 3 dimensions. We can see each UAV is having different velocity and different traces in horizontal directions as well as in the horizontal directions. Horizontals and the vertical, horizontal and as well as in the vertical directions. So this particular simulation model is applicable for the mixed mobility model. Let us discuss some of the statistical properties of this mixed mobility model. We have already validated this model, and we can see here the vertical movement locations of the UAV. If we see this particular as a cylindrical cell, and all these green dots from the sideways looks like in this figure, these particular dots are the locations which are occupied by the UAVs in vertical directions when looked from the sideways. So in this case, as we have already mentioned, the vertical locations, that means the PDF of altitude of the UAVs, must follow the superposition of two PDFs. One is the static PDF and the other one is the mobility PDF. These locations, when simulated in MATLAB using histogram techniques, we found here, let us see this figure. This red curve, which is horizontal, is one-dimensional uniform distribution, and this dashed curve here is a pure mobility PDF. This is based on the one-dimensional random waypoint mobility model. If we see this figure, then the PDF, which is the superposition of these two PDFs, that is the desired PDF, is plotted here with this solid red line. So it lies in between this horizontal line, and this is RWPM curve for certain regions, and then it is lying here. I mean here, this dashed line is below the desired PDF line, right? So the nature of curve is changed due to the crossover. This is occurring due to the superposition. And we can see these histograms, these are very well aligned with this central curve. So this shows the very validation of our mixed mobility model based on our assumptions. Further, we can see the PDF of HI is non-uniform, which is as desired and we have discussed previously. Now we have to verify the validation of verify the locations of UAVs onto the ground plane. So these are the projections of UAVs onto the ground plane after certain number of iterations. We can see here by visualization we can observe that all these points are uniformly distributed in this circular disk. Hence we can conclude that it is a uniform distribution. We can see here in this figure, this red line is the curve for two-dimensional uniform distribution in a circle, and all the histograms which these histograms which are plotted for the location of these points is are aligned with this particular PDF curve. So we can conclude that projections of UAVs, that is ZI, onto the ground plane follows the uniform PDF. For this model, when we apply this model, we need to calculate the UAV to user equipment distance, which we derive here. UAV to UE distance is in particular is obtained as is particularly given by the WIT, and here it is obtained using the Pythagoras theorem. Hi square is the height and Zi square is the horizontal location onto the ground, and this is square root. Under mixed mobility model, the static PDF of Wi can be calculated as this expression, and similarly, whenever the UAV is moving, then the mobility PDF, whenever the UAV is moving, then the PDF of Wi can be calculated using this particular PDF. So, as we know that there is the superposition of two PDFs, the static PDF and the mobility PDF for vertical movement, that is for altitude, then here also there should be the superposition. So we have the exact PDF of this distance Wi here as the superposition of the static PDF, which is shown here, and the mobility PDF, which is shown here, along with the staying at the waypoint and non-staying probability 1 minus PS at the waypoint. Finally, the distance distribution of Wi looks like this. So here we have this figure is generally showing this figure is showing the traces of two UAVs after 100 steps of launch. So these are the general traces, and the distance Wi is defined from this user to any particular location at given instant of time. And here it is the exact distribution which is modeled according to the mixed mobility for the distance Wi. This is the distance of UAV. As I described, this is the distance of a UAV from a particular location to the ground user. We can see here that this overall PDF is again non-uniform. If we see here, it is having a piecewise structure. From here to this particular point, it is increasing non-linearly, and from this point to this point it is linear, and again from this point to this point it is non-linear. Further, we can see here at the end points, that is this zero distance, that means the UAV is lying on ground that is very close to the user, and the UAV lying at the maximum distance are very low. Probability of lying at these extreme points is very low, right? So this is what we desire from the UAV communications, from the UAV mobility model that is already discussed. Now we have finished the development of a mixed mobility model for locating the UAVs in a three-dimensional cylindrical cell. Now it is the time to consider an illustrative problem where we apply this model and the UAV cell for the performance enhancement. So we could particularly here see a problem which is secrecy performance analysis of three-dimensional cooperative satellite aerial terrestrial networks. This problem is based on the reference number 4 as described here. Let us come to the system model. This is a system model where we consider a satellite S, which is a geostationary satellite, and there is a ground section which consists of a cylindrical UAV cell. Particularly, the satellite communications are useful for for outdoor communications. We utilize satellites generally for outdoor communications, and our receiving terminals are located nearly always on the rooftops, right? So if we want global coverage and global coverage with less cost, and we want to provide the service to the users when users are located inside a building, that means there is no outdoor user is indoor, then how we can provide a service to the user based on from the satellite? This can be provided by deploying an intermediate node as a relay node which supports the communication between the satellite and the destination or the ground user in the cell, right? So here we consider that there are m number of UAVs in these cylindrical cells, and all these UAVs can act as the relay. We particularly consider here the relay as decode and forward relay. So what happens in this network, whenever this satellite S transmits a signal towards the ground, the signal is first received by all these relays and a decoding set is formed. The decoding set gives the set of relays which successfully decodes that signal, and one out of those relays will provide the communication link between that particular relay and the destination. That means the relay which is selected will forward the received signal to the destination, and that relay will be a best selected relay from the decoding set. So this is the two-hop communication model. Let us describe all the nodes. This is the satellite. In first hop, it transmits the signal towards, suppose, a selected UI, UAV relay UI. DUI is considered as the distance between the source, the satellite source, and the UI. And in the second hop, this selected UAV relay will transmit the signal to the user equipment, which is D. This is the desired user, or we can see is a legitimate user. But here our problem is to enhance the security in such networks. So we consider the physical layer security model, where there is a malicious node E, which is popularly known as the eavesdropper, which is lying at a distance Wi from the communicating relay UI. Here we assume that this eavesdropper is a node which try to tap the information which is forwarded by the UI to the D. We consider here the two cases for the deployment of this eavesdropper E. Here we consider that eavesdropper E is a flying aircraft. So in this case, if suppose this E is located at a fixed distance WIE from the relay node UI, in that case, the E will locate itself around the territory of this circle, right? And if suppose this is happening, then this eavesdropper may be of the type which is fixed wing type. Fixed wing type UAV, as we have discussed initially, cannot move vertically instantaneously, and it will follow in general the curvilinear path. So this E will be following this circular territory. Now, if suppose we consider this E as rotary wing type of UAV, it can be located anywhere inside this circular region, which is highlighted as this green color. Now, if we consider these three nodes U, I, D, and E, this makes the system as the Wiener wiretap channel model. Here, this eavesdropper E is trying to tap the information from this UI, and this D wants its information to be decoded correctly. Now, our objective is to analyze the performance of this particular system model with the help of a best UAV relay selection, such that the secrecy performance of this overall network is enhanced and the data rate or the at the eavesdropper is minimized. For this particular system model, the links from satellite to UAVs are designated as satellite links, and the links from this UAV to user equipment are the this is the ground link for the user equipment and for the eavesdropper. So here we first consider the channel models for satellite channel, that is related to the satellite link. Satellite channel coefficient is defined as GSUI, and its square represents here, its square of the absolute value represents here is the power gain. So the PDF of the satellite fading channel is given by equation 1, and the various parameters are listed here. Now we have the free space loss. So free space loss for satellite links is given by the expression 2, which involves various parameters which are listed here. For example, KB here is the Boltzmann constant, W here is the receiver noise temperature, KB is the Boltzmann constant, T is the receiver noise temperature, and W is the carrier bandwidth, C is the speed of light, FC is the carrier frequency, and DUIT that is mentioned here is the distance of satellite from the UAV relay. Here also we need the satellite beam gain, which is defined based on the angle theta which is subtended by the UAV from the beam center of the satellite. So this is the particular expression 3 which is needed for modeling the satellite channel. Now the channel and propagation models. So first we consider here the channel models for UAV relay to ground user and UAV relay to eavesdropper. The PDF of the channel gains GUI, and this I here can be D or E. That means the fading channels from UAV relay to ground and ground user and the UAV relay to the eavesdropper will follow the gamma distribution. This distribution in equation 4 comes from the assumption of Nakagami M fading in the ground links. We consider Nakagami M fading because this model is a universal, this is a versatile model where we can set the particular values of M to realize various kind of fading scenarios. Now the path loss from UI to eavesdropper E and D are mentioned as WIE minus alpha E. The power raise is minus alpha E. Similarly, here the WID, which is the distance from UAV relay to the distance from UAV relay to the destination D, with power minus alpha D. These alpha E and alpha D are the path loss exponents for the link between UI to UE and UI to D respectively. Now we can see when the satellite transmits its signal and it is received by a particular relay UI, what is the SNR? So that SNR is given by the equation 6. How this SNR is obtained, that is given in detail in the paper. Here we are only considering, we are directly considering the SNR for illustration. So this is the SNR SUI from satellite to UI. LSUI is the free space loss, VS, V theta UI, these are the beam gains of satellite, and this is the fading channel for from the satellite. Now, as I have mentioned earlier, that there is a decoding relay set. Whenever the signal is transmitted in the first hop from the satellite, then all the relays may not be able to decode the signals correctly. So there is a set which is known as decoding relay set, which consists of all the relays which can decode the signal successfully in the first phase. This relay set is defined as the UAVs containing UAVs with subscript L with the received SNR greater than certain threshold. So this received SNR is this one in equation 6, and this threshold is defined based on the target rate for the decoding R, which is in general given by this, and this expression is obtained using the Shannon's capacity theorem. And L can go from 1 to M. Any relay can decode the signal with equal probability. In the second hop, when the relay forward, when the from the decoding a best selected relay forward the signal towards D and E, the SNRs at D and E can be formulated as the equation as given in this equation 8. So this one is the SNR at D and this one is the SNR at E. If we follow the Wiener-Vitek model, then we can define the secrecy capacity of the system based on equation number 9. Here this RDT represents the data rate at the node D on the ground, and this RET as the received data rate at the eavesdropper E. If we consider that our communication is secure, there is no breach of security, then it is obvious that the data rate at the legitimate user D must be always higher than the data rate at this particular illegitimate user, which is the eavesdropper. So we consider this CST as this function if the cardinality of the decoding set is greater than 0. That means at least one relay decodes the signal correctly. If there is no relay which decodes the signal correctly, in that case this capacity should be 0. That means there should be no communication to the eavesdropper at all. This function is represented here, which shows maximum of 0 or x. As we have discussed previously, that the relay which transmits the signal towards the ground user will be the best selected relay. Now question comes, how we select these relays as the best relay. So we consider 3 different relay selection strategies which are commonly used in the literature. First one is the closest UAV relay selection strategy, which is the CURS. This is the strategy where let us say UL is the selected relay. So L is the index of the relay which is selected from the decoding set. So we describe here L index in such a way that the relay which is having the index of the relay which is having the minimum distance from the ground user. That is the minimum of WIT. There is another relay selection strategy which is uniform UAV relay selection strategy, that is UURS. Here the index L is uniformly selected at random from available relays in DL, right? So this is the worst case and it is the most simplified case. The implementation of this UURS strategy is most simplified and least complex. Third one is maximum SNR UAV relay selection, which is MURS. Here the index L is chosen based on maximizing the overall SNR from the relay to the ground destination. So this requires the maximization of delta UIT. If we see this structure, so it is given here. So maximizing this means we have a parameter which is the distance and another parameter which is the fading channel gain. So we need to acquire the information of these fading channel gains as well as these distances for implementing this particular strategy, and this is the most complex scheme. So this one, the closest UAV relay selection, is the scheme which is a compromise between the complexity and the performance, and it is lying in between the uniform UAV relay selection and the MURS scheme. So this scheme is having sufficient system performance as compared to the UURS, but its performance is poorer than the MURS. This we will verify shortly in the numerical results. So let us come to the main performance analysis part. We here consider three parameters. First one is the probability of non-zero secrecy capacity. Other one we will consider the secrecy outage probability, and the third one is the asymptotic secrecy outage probability. We will derive these parameters one by one, these metrics one by one. These are the metrics basically. So for CURS, let us consider the probability of non-zero secrecy capacity. What is that? If suppose the decoding set is empty, that is no relay is able to decode the signal correctly, in that case the probability that the CS is equal to 0. CS is the secrecy capacity. If you see that we have defined previously, this is here CS refers to this expression, this difference. So here the probability of this is 0. That means probability CS is equal to 0 and the cardinality of the decoding set is 0, then the probability is always 1. That means there is probability is 1. There is another condition. If suppose the DL is not equal to 0, what happens in that case? We have to calculate the probability that CS is equal to 0 and given that DL is also greater than 0. And this probability is always greater than 0. And we have to calculate this probability through the mathematical expression which is given as 12, which involves two parameters. One is phi1L and the other one is phi2L, which are further given in equation 13, which involves the CDF of this SNR from SUI, that is the SNR from satellite to UAV relay, and there is the phi2L which requires which is calculated based on this expression 14 and which requires the CDF of the SNR from UAV relay to the destination and as well as the PDF of UAV relay to the eavesdropper. The required PDF here F of SNR delta ULD is particularly important because it must be calculated based on the mixed mobility model, since it is related to the ground section. It is related to the second hop communication. So we give here the lemma where this 15 in this equation 15, this CDF is derived, which involves the CDF of the PDF, that means the distribution of WID, which is obtained through the mixed mobility model. Other parameters are described here, and the select and here while deriving this equation 15, we utilize the equation 16, which is the distribution of selected relay for CURS. As we know that CURS is following the strategy such that the relay with minimum distance from the destination is selected. So this FWLD is the CDF, the distribution PDF density of the minimum distance relay. So this one is the particular expression, and this psi LR is here in equation 15. As we have described, as we have seen previously, that the eavesdropper can have two cases. If it is a kind of fixed wing aircraft, it will locate at a particular distance in the circle, and if it is a rotating type of UAV, it will be having the uniform location inside that particular circle, which is shaded by the green. So here for the case 1, the distance WIE is constant, and the density of the SNR from UAV relay to the eavesdropper is given by equation 17. If there is the case 2, we can see here in this particular expression, this WIE is not a random variable, it is fixed. Why it is fixed? Because WI is the constant for this case. In case 2, we consider that the UAV is located uniformly in a two-dimensional circular plane of radius L, and in such case the distribution of the SNR at the eavesdropper can be obtained by equation 18, which includes the averaging of this parameter W over the PDF of the distance. Here we see there is a lower limit epsilon. This epsilon is the safe distance from the UAV relay. It is apparent that no eavesdropper can locate at the position where already there is a relay. So there should be a sufficient safe distance, which is modeled as the parameter epsilon here. As we have seen previously, that to calculate in this expression, we have seen to calculate this probability of non-zero secrecy capacity, that is CS is always greater than 0, we require phi 1L and phi 2L, right? So this phi 2L can now be calculated as given in theorem 1 for case 1. Here for case 2 it is not shown because the case 2 directly follows case 1, and there will be some additional terms, and this expression is given in the paper. The next metric that is of interest is secrecy outage probability. Secrecy outage probability for a target secrecy rate RS can be calculated based on the expression 20. Here we multiply the probability of decoding set, which contains, suppose L relays, and L goes from 0 to M. This is the total probability theorem where all relays can decode the signals correctly, or none of the relay will decode the signal correctly. And there is this term, which is very important. The probability that secrecy capacity lies below this target secrecy rate RS, given that the decoding set contains L contains the L release. So this one is phi 3L. This overall term is the phi 3L, which is very important to evaluate the secrecy outage probability. This phi 3L mathematically can be obtained using equation 21, which requires this CDF and this PDF of SNR from UAV relay to the D and the SNR from the UAV relay to the eavesdropper. We derived this for the case of CURS, for the case 1 of CURS, and here this equation 22 represents that expression. Likewise, case 2 follows case 1, and we are skipping here. Case 2 will have some additional expressions here, but the procedure is same. Now we consider the asymptotic secrecy outage probability, which is ASOP for CURS. For CURS, to calculate ASOP, we can consider two scenarios. First one is the unbalanced scenario. This is the scenario where we consider sufficiently high SNR tending to infinity in the second hop. This eta D is the SNR in the second hop, which depends on the transmit power of UAV relays. And this eta U here is the SNR which is received from the satellite. So it contains the transmit power from the satellite. In equation 23, we can calculate the asymptotic secrecy outage probability for a target rate RS, which is given by this expression where phi 1L for L equal to 0. Why it is so? If suppose here we can see the comments, ASOP is independent of the second hop links eta D, right? Here we can see that second hop is not utilized. If the second hop is not utilized, we can see the secrecy diversity order is 0. Those who are unaware of the diversity combining techniques, here I want to mention that diversity means the number of, in general, you can understand that it means the number of diverse branches that we can provide from source to destination for communications, right? So secrecy diversity order 0 means there is no impact of diverse branches that we have created with the help of UAV relays. So this is a trivial scenario. The most important scenario is the balance scenario, where we have sufficiently high power in the first hop as well as in the second hop. In this case, we have the probability that decoding set contains M relay tending to 1. That is, if we have infinite SNR in the first hop, that means transmit power is sufficiently high for satellite transmissions, then every relay will decode the signal correctly. The probability of this event is very high. That's why it is tending to 1. And hence the probability of decoding set having less than M relays is tending to 0. In particular, in this situation, we can calculate the asymptotic secrecy outage probability using equation 24, which is the probability that the secrecy capacity is less than the target rate, given that the decoding set contains all the relays M. Without going the detailed derivation for this, for CURS scheme for ASOP. Here I am predicting the final results. If we see the derived expressions of ASOP for CURS, it can be modeled based on this expression 25. So this is at the asymptotic outage secrecy outage probability, and it contains a parameter GC and another parameter GT, and this is big O of eta d raised to the power minus GD. So here what is there? What we can see, this GC is a secrecy coding gain, and this GD is the secrecy diversity order. So we are more concerned with the secrecy diversity order because we have applied here M diverse branches. So we should get the advantage of M diverse branches under the scheme. So here we can see under CURS, for both cases 1 and 2, this GD is only MUD. This MUD is the Nakagami M parameter of the fading channel from UAV to the user equipment D. Here we can see that the capital M, the impact of capital M diverse branches is not reflected. That means this is a suboptimal strategy which is not providing the full benefits of diversity, and we can only reap out the secrecy coding gain. The other scheme is uniform UAV relay selection, and for that we require these three metrics, which is probability of non-zero secrecy capacity, secrecy outage probability, and asymptotic secrecy outage probability. These metrics for UURS can be derived directly following the expressions of CURS, where we replace the PDF of the distance of the selected relay from the ground user simply as FWIDR. That is, there is no order statistic. Minimization is not followed. In this case, again, we can see for both cases 1 and 2 of the eavesdropper, the diversity order is only MUD. Again, the impact of M diverse branches is not reflected. However, if we compare the secrecy coding gain of UURS with the CURS, we have the better performance in case of CURS and the worst performance in case of UURS. The third important relay selection strategy is the maximum SNR UAV relay selection strategy, and we calculate here the probability of non-zero secrecy capacity. Here we can see first if we look at the SNR structures, this SNR, which is the SNR from UAV relay to the D, is having having the parameter which is the distance parameter as well as the fading channel parameter, and these two parameters are coupled if we apply the order statistic for maximum UAV relay selection strategy. So what we can do for analytical tractability, we will not go with the exact SNR expression at the destination. We go with the bound expressions. So here we formulate two bounds. This one is the upper bound, which is formulated over the exact SNR, and this one is the lower bound, which is formulated over the exact SNR. How these bounds are formulated? We can see here in SNR, this is the distance term and this is the fading channel gain. So we have chosen for this upper bound the very best case where we can individually minimize this distance and individually maximize this channel gain. However, it is not possible because minimum distance may be that distance where the fading channel is not maximum, right? So minimum distance of relay may be with that relay where the fading channel gain is not the maximum. So this that's why it is the upper bound. We have mentioned here, this is the minimum distance and this is the maximum gain. Minimizing the distance minimizes the path loss and hence the SNR is increased. And another case, which is the simplified case, where we consider the distance as it is. We don't apply order on the distance, but we apply the order on the fading channel gain. So this is the maximum fading channel gain that is considered. Under these scenarios, we derive theorem 3 as we have discussed previously. For the calculation of this P and ZSC, we need the term phi 2L. So here we derive the phi 2L in terms of upper bound, which is phi 2L star, which is given by this expression 28. Similarly, this is for case 1. Similarly, for the case 1, as we have two SNRs, this one and this one, if we follow the other SNR, then we can obtain the lower bound, which is for phi 2L as phi 2L dagger. So these two expressions we can derive, and here there will be no order statistic on WID as I have mentioned in this expression 27. This is for case 1. Likewise, we can derive the expressions for case 2, which exactly follow the case 1, and for case similar to the case 1, we get two expressions. One is the upper bound and the other one is the lower bound for the probability of non-zero secrecy capacity. Here we have the theorem 4. We are, as I have discussed, if we use this second SNR, we can derive phi 3L lower bound, which is given in equation 29, and similarly this is for case 1 and we can also obtain it for the case 2. Now, to reveal the diversity order, we need to derive the asymptotic secrecy outage probability. So how we can derive that? We can have now not the exact expression, but the asymptotic expressions for the lower bound and the upper bound SOP expressions. So we have either this one, which is the lower bound, or either this one, which is the upper bound, equal to this expression. This is the generalized form where we have to predict the value of GC and GT. In particular, we are interested in GD. So under MURS, for both the cases 1 and 2, we get the diversity order, which is equal to capital M multiplied by MUT. So MUT is the fading channel gain as predicted for the other schemes, but here we get the additional impact of M diverse branches, which is related to the M UAV relays. Now coming to the numerical results. Here are the parameter settings for the simulations. Let us consider the first results based on probability of non-zero secrecy capacity. If we look at this downward, the curve which is downwards is considering only M equal to 1. That means there is one relay. Under this situation, the UURS, CURS and MURS all becomes the same. So this performance lies here. We can clearly see when we increase M equal to 2, then for UURS as well as the CURS, this line, this dashed line here is for UURS, and the another overlapping dashed line here is for the CURS. So whenever M is increased to 2, the performance is best. That means the probability of non-zero secrecy capacity approaches 1. That is desirable. And here this red line which is shown, this red line is for the exact probability of non-zero secrecy capacity of MURS scheme. So we have derived the upper bound and lower bound. So we can see the upper bound which lies here and the lower bound which lies here. So this is sufficiently close. We can see the upper bound is sufficiently close to the exact simulations in this particular curve. So this is validating our analysis, and this is simply for the case 2, as there is nothing more additional to reveal in this figure. So similar to the case 1, in case 2, the MURS is having the best performance, then UURS has the worst performance, and CURS lying in between the two. And the PNZSC improves with the increase of M. This one is the these figures represent the numerical results for secrecy outage probability. Here we vary the number of diverse branches M and the channel feeding channel gain from UAV relay to the ground user MUD. So here we can see the various cases of let us say this is the case where M is equal to 2 and MUD is equal to 2, and consider the case here. Let us consider this case first. M is equal to 2, MUD is equal to 2 for MURS, and here consider M equal to 2, MUD 2 for CURS. We can clearly see that MURS system performance is very good. Here are 3 curves. Why? This red one is the exact simulated curve, and this dashed line and these dashed dot lines are the lower bounds and upper bound, because we are not able to derive the exact expressions for MURS scheme. Now we can see here this is for CURS. CURS is having the poor performance, and as we know UURS is also having the poor performance, which is given in this figure. And increasing the M, we can see here that this is M equal to 1 case, and if we consider anywhere M equal to 2 case, then the performance is improved with respect to this curve. Similar kind of interpretation can be done for this particular curve for case 2 of the eavesdropper. So final takeaways: SOP decreases with increase of M and or MUD. Diversity order of M MUD is verified for MURS, that we can see here. For those who are unaware of the diversity orders, how to predict the diversity order, it is nothing but the slope of the outage, this secrecy outage probability curve. So we can see here these dotted lines are the asymptotic lines on these curves. If these curves slope is higher, then diversity order is higher. So we can see this diversity order, this slope is higher than the slope of CURS. That means the diversity order of this one, that is MURS scheme, is higher. This curve shows, these figures shows the secrecy outage probability by varying the eavesdropper distance WIE and the eavesdropper distance for WIE for case 1, where this distance is constant, and here it is the case where we vary the epsilon, which is the safe distance parameter of the eavesdropper around the relay. So in first case, we can see this curve for MURS is square. That means we consider WIE as 1000 meter, and this curve for MURS is the round one. So this is for WIE 300 meter, right? So secrecy outage probability means if it is low, it is better. We can see here for a distance of 1000 meter of eavesdropper from the relay location, the performance is very good. The secrecy outage probability is very good. But here, whenever the distance is decreased, then there is the performance deterioration. Why it is? Because whenever the distance of eavesdropper decreases from the relay node, in that case, the path loss is also reduced for the eavesdropper link, and eavesdropper has the higher probability of decoding the signal from the relay. Here we can see the similar kind of things. Let us consider this square for the case 2 square curve. This is for MURS, where it is epsilon is considered as 800 meter, and here for circle it is where the epsilon is 600 meter. So we see here whenever the epsilon is decreased, that means epsilon is decreased from 800 to 600, then what will be there? The secrecy outage probability is decreasing, and it is very obvious, as we have seen here in case 1 also. Whenever the eavesdropper lies closer to the UAV relay, then there is higher chance of decoding the signal that is transmitted by the relay, by the eavesdropper, the signal transmitted by the relay. These are the results which shows the secrecy outage probability for case 1 and 2 when we increase the cylindrical cell size. Cylindrical cell size can be increased in two ways, one by increasing the radius or by increasing the height. Although there are two ways to increase the cell size, I am here only showing the results by increasing R. So here we can see, let us consider only the MURS case. This square one is when R is 80 meter, and this round one when R is 100 meter. So in this curve we can see for MURS scheme, when R is increased, the distance between the cell size, that means the cell radius is increased, the distance from the ground user to the UAV relay will also increase. That results in higher path loss and the performance becomes poor. So this is the secrecy outage probability becoming poor. Similar kind of observation is there for case 2. This is the final result of this presentation, which is showing the comparison between the secrecy outage performance of a static relay and a mobile UAV relay. So here we consider the static relay as a ground-based relay, which are located at the fixed locations, which is the locations which are equal to the maximum possible distance, which is there for the UAV relays. So now if we compare, suppose this case, so this red line here is for the this one is for mobile relay, and this one for the static relay. Yes, this is for the MURS, and this is here for the MURS static relay. So we can see these two curves are well below than these two curves. So that means the performance is drastically improved when we utilize the mobile relay, and this justifies the title of our presentation, Mobility for Security. Here security is enhanced by the use of mobile UAV relays. The reason being, the mobile UAV relays have the additional control over the trajectory by which they can locate themselves at a location closer to the destination. Here, this is the figure for case 2, which also shows the similar kind of interpretation. Here are the conclusions. In this presentation, we have seen typical application scenarios and use cases for UAV communications, which are useful for next generation wireless networks. We have provided a stochastic mixed mobility model, which provides the locations of UAVs in 3D UAV networks. We have derived relevant UAV to UE distance distributions based on the statistical properties of mixed mobility model. We have considered an illustrative problem of secrecy performance analysis of cooperative satellite aerial terrestrial networks under the mixed mobility model for UAV relays. We have particularly considered 3 relay selection strategies, MURS, CURS, and UURS, and we found that MURS is the best strategy and UURS is the worst strategy. We have also depicted the impact of various system and channel parameters on the secrecy performance of the considered CSATN, and we have finally observed that the secrecy performance of CSATNs can be improved, can be significantly improved with the help of mobile relays as compared to the static relays. For further readings, I have provided here 2 very good references which have various research related to the UAVs and their particular use cases are also described, and initial that is what are the opportunities, challenges, and research directions, current standardization activities, everything are mentioned in these references. So thanks for your attention. That's all from this presentation. Any questions?
Yeah, thank you very much. So, audience, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand. Okay, so on. Yes, Professor Malairanjan, please. Professor Malairanjan, you can unmute and speak.
Yeah, good afternoon, all of you. Can you hear me, please?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah.
I have questions that is related to how the GNS system can be useful for the UAV. Is there any things combination of GNSS systems for UAV? Is there any scope? Yeah.
Sir, particularly, I have not focused more on this issue, but some research directions in this you can find in the references that I have mentioned here.
Okay.
Yes, here I have focused on the applications such as enhanced mobile broadband (EMBB). So in that case, if user is suppose in indoor, then how to provide satellite communications to establish satellite communication to that user. So this is the scenario that we have considered, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Actually, I have also other thing in my mind. When I was listening your lecture. Of course, in between I went for another lecture I took. Okay. Another things I was the SLAM. That is the kind of the simultaneous localization and mapping kind of issues.
UAV swarms.
Yeah, UAV SLAMs I'm talking about.
Yes, sir. So swarms are in general utilized for nowadays. You can see in Olympics, fireworks, or some events, right? These are these are the examples of swarms. But in definitely in wireless communications, we can utilize the UAV swarms for various scenarios. For example, one such scenario can be the military surveillance, where we deploy the UAVs in a particular trajectory or the particular motion so that it can be protected from the bombardments from the enemy. This kind of application is possible.
Is possible. Okay, thank you. Thank you for nice lecture. Yeah, I have one request to Dr. Nilkandani. Can you talk to you, please?
Yeah.
Actually, I was trying to get that link, MS Team link. I'm not getting. I can enter to the MS Team, but that link I need. Can you send me so that I can?
Now you are on the link now.
No, I'm in the link. Actually, I have the MS Team I use for my own lecture. But if I want to go there, I can see all the lectures and all. Students they can see
login credentials of that. Oh, that must be available in your email. Just to check your spam folder. We have already reset more than twice for your account.
Okay. I'll check it. Otherwise, I'll send email. Just I need help. Okay. No.
That should be available in your spam folder. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for nice. I can. Okay. Okay then. Thank you.
Yeah. Dr. Elilarsi, please.
Good afternoon, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Very good lecture, sir, Dr. Pankaj Kumar, sir. I have one query. Apart from mobility and security issues in UAV-assisted wireless communication, what are the recent research challenges on that?
Okay. So the scope of UAVs in wireless communications is very, very wide. You can go through the reference papers that I have mentioned. In particular, we can use UAVs for FANETs design, that is flying ad hoc networks, right? Suppose if we want infrastructure-less communications in the areas where there is disaster, then we may require the deployment of multiple UAVs, right? Or we may require somewhere in to collect data from various sensors. So in such cases, we have flying ad hoc networks. This is one of the application area. Other application area is the flying UAV base stations for cellular communications. Similarly, UAV swarms. UAV swarms are important research topic. And there, in general, we have in these problems two different objectives. The first objective is to optimize the system performance, and the other one is to predict the system performance. So we can have to separate branches. One is algorithmic and the other one is the stochastic one. So this I have demonstrated as the stochastic one, but there are several papers for different scenarios in algorithmic directions. Very recent work that I have started in this direction is the proposition of UAV assisted cloud radio access networks, UCRAN. So you will find shortly the paper related to that on arXiv, where you can see how we can incorporate the mobile edge computing devices as UAVs in cloud radio access networks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Amrita, you have also raised your hand, please.
Sir, first of all, thank you for a great session. I have a query. I wanted to ask, we are generally using DF as a relay, not AF. Is it just because it tends to perform better?
Can you repeat the question?
For relay in UAVs, we are generally using DF, not AF. Decode and forward
Yes.
we are not using AF. So is it because just because it tends to perform better than AF?
Yes, what is there? It is not a restriction that we can only use decode and forward relay. I have two separate works. One is for amplified and forward relaying, and the other one is decode and forward relaying. This is related to decode and forward relaying for secrecy performance. The other one, which is recently published in Transactions on Vehicular Technology, where AF is utilized for content caching. So UAV caching you can see there. So there is no specific thing that we can use only the DF relay. However, as per your query, definitely DF relay is having better performance. That's why I have here incorporated the DF. And apart from that, the analytical tractability is more when we consider DF relay for such system.
And sir, can you suggest any books for UAV communication?
As of now, there is one book on UAV communications, which is authored by Walid Saad Group, Walid Saad, HS Dillon, and all related people. That book you can find. Exactly the title of book I cannot remember because it came very recently. And there is another book by HS Dillon Group, which is related to the mobility models on UAVs. Those two books you can follow, but since the topic is very new, the coverage in these books are limited. So better to follow the IEEE communication surveys and tutorial papers, where each researcher shows the content related to their own research, and you can have different dimensions to explore in this research area.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Ranjan, you would like to ask something?
Yeah. Sir, my general question is, am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Okay. My general question is that means to calculate the outage probability, we have to do the lot of rigorous analysis and all, and still the results or the graph which we get that will be depend upon the convergence kind of thing. So the reliability of such equation, because the closed form expressions we do not get every time, and in that case a lot of approximation we have to made. So are these of analysis which we are doing through the mathematical expression is directly we can correlate with the actual field measurements and all?
Yes, this is a good question. What we show here that for one particular scheme, there is no closed form solution. and we followed the bound approach. So if there are two possibilities. If you go for the analytical expressions, one is the approximation, other one is the bound. If you are here able to obtain the tighter bounds, then your analysis guarantees the system performance, right? You can see here, I can show from this curve. This is suppose the MURS curve, the curve for MURS scheme. So here this is one upper bound and this downwards is the lower bound, and this red one is the exact simulation curve. So if we see this outage probability here, the lower bound is very close. So we can take lower bound as reference for designing the system. If we design for lower bound or for upper bound, then yes, the performance will lie somewhere in between that. If suppose we go for approximation rather than the bound, then what will be there? In some cases, the exact performance with the approximation may have the crossover. If there is the crossover, then beyond the point of the crossover, the performance will not be guaranteed. That's why bound are well accepted in the literature and also utilized in industry for the system design.
See, actually, sir, we are most of the time we are facing this kind of problem because see, if in case of MIMO and other some multi-user MIMO systems, when we try